Imagine a world where sound can be both private and immersive, free from wearing headphones and without disturbing others, where you can almost feel the sound coming from within. Are you listening?
Just play with the plus, see how high you can get, and minus until you get like a comfortable volume level. So this is because of the bubbles of sound around your ear. When you switch to manual mode, the tracking of the sensing module is stopping, and then it just transmits to the same point. This way you can actually feel how other people are experiencing the sound you hear. When you are inside of the bubble, you get the sound, the volume, the immersiveness of it. And where you're outside of it, you cannot get it. Sometimes you can hear a little bit of noise. Sometimes you hear there's something going on beside you, but you don't get the volume and you don't get the immersiveness of the sound experience.
I don't think any other audio technology can do. And the other one is kind of the privacy that you can control when you get out of the bubble of sounds that is created, which I think is really what we're talking about and makes us so different from headphones and radio.
Music is frequency. What frequency are you being fed? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind, target the frequency to go to certain parts of the mind, and I can literally, if I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
To really be effective, we need to use the proper words and phrases, scientifically selected. But that gives you the basic idea. We embed messages just below the threshold of perception, so they can go directly into the subconscious.
They can play across a community these frequencies without anyone knowing, and it starts to have an effect, and it starts to build rage, it starts to build anger, and people might not realize why they're feeling it, but they start to feel it. And then what they do is they trigger that with an event. Maybe some guy is attacked by the police or something, or somebody's arrested for something they didn't commit, and now there's the trigger. The blue touch paper has been lit of this manufactured frequency-driven rage, and you have mass riots and what have you, and people do things that they wouldn't normally do.
Stay safe online with Dashlane. More on that later. After World War II, the tension between the two emerging superpowers, the United States and the then Soviet Union, was at an all-time high. The threat of a nuclear war, and sequentially the end of human existence as we know it, was banging on everyone's door. Everyone's life was hanging on by a thread. Neither side wanted to budge, or fall behind the other in fear of losing power completely. Technological development didn't stop with the atom bomb. It continued to get bigger and bigger, like you were rolling a ball of snow down a hill. At the beginning of World War II, we were still using mediocre biplanes. By the end, we had fighter jets, superfortress bombers, new technology. It was like when radio turned to television, a complete shift in focus. It turned from bombs to chemical warfare to more biological weapons, weapons that could enter and change the mind itself. The most dangerous weapon is information. It was rumored that the Nazis near the end of World War II were doing research on the minds and behaviors of humans, and that the secrets and answers to that research lied in the German scientists themselves. Countries such as China, the Soviet Union, and, through the mission codenamed Operation Paperclip, even the United States took former German scientists and engineers back to their own individual countries. The United States was terrified by this. The thought of communist countries researching and developing mind control methods was the worst thing imaginable. The idea of being able to brainwash your citizens, or anyone, into believing in the communist agenda, or any agenda for that matter, is an extreme power. Of course, the solution to this is to just beat the other side to the finish line. And that's exactly what the United States government attempted to do. Mainly, the CIA. The CIA was created in September of 1947, just a little over 2 years after the end of World War II. The goal? Gather intelligence, information from both domestic and foreign entities. In a 1951 CIA memo, it expressed the need to explore scientific methods for controlling the minds of individuals. The concerns of a Cold War world run by new Soviet mind control and brainwashing technology was an actual and genuine fear of the United States. Seriously, in an early 1950s CIA document, it states, "Hypnotism appears to have been used in some cases by the Soviets. It has the possibilities of lowering resistance against telling the truth, while also being able to induce specific action or behavior in a subject. It is possible for a skilled Russian operator to bring about an interrogation, yet leave the subject with no specific recollection of having been interrogated. The leverage you have for having this kind of power over other humans, whether they be spies, prisoners of war, or even normal citizens, is almost unrivaled." The thing is, this isn't fiction. This isn't some made-up conspiracy theory. There are confirmed facts. In the mid to late 1970s, over 20,000 CIA documents were released regarding the United States' most illegal undertaking. This is the story of how a single government agency planned and attempted to control and alter the minds of those who inhabited the country that they run. How the United States government attempted to develop psychological, biological, and radiological weapons to turn both foreign and domestic spies into sleeper agents, and how it could still be going on today. This is Project MKUltra. And thus, Project MKUltra was born. But MKUltra wasn't just one single project. Look at it as a web of experiments that were all interconnected with one ultimate goal: control. Project Bluebird, Artichoke, MK Search, and MK Naomi are just to name a few. But it goes much, much further. Although it started earlier, MKUltra was officially signed and begun in 1953 under CIA Director Allen Dulles. It was one of the largest projects ever known. Over 150 sub-projects were created and handled by over 80 different institutions, universities, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, all of which who had little to no idea that they were doing work directly for the CIA. However, that didn't stop some of the most creative experiments from taking place. Many of these, as you might imagine, were very, very illegal. Sub-Project 54 studied techniques to cause concussions and other brain-damaging experiments. It was supposed to be handled by the United States Navy. Why? Well, the project was to use suboral frequency blasts to cause concussions. And although the program was supposedly never carried out, there is still some evidence that might show some kind of work being done. In the hearings before the Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research in late September 1977, there's a passage that caught my eye. While talking about funding from various institutes across the country, Dr. Geschichter, a CIA employee, mentions something interesting. He first notes about a study on concussions, where heads of animals were repeatedly rocked back and forth in order to cause concussion and then further amnesia. Next, however, is more interesting. There was apparently a later business, whatever that may be, that through the use of radar, was attempting to put monkeys to sleep. A senator present at the meeting asked, could they? As Dr. Geschichter states, yes, they could. He goes on to say that it showed if you got into too deep a sleep, you injured the heat center of the brain the way you cook meat, and there was a borderline that made it dangerous. So basically, the CIA was using radio and electromagnetic signals to attempt to put monkeys and other animals to sleep. And they could. Not only that, but they could almost literally cook an animal's brain to the point to where they would go brain dead. And in some cases, even die. Now, I don't know about you, but if this could work on monkeys and supposedly other animals as well, I would imagine that this very experiment took place with human subjects as well. The problem is, after this hearing, I couldn't find any other papers or documents that even remotely talked about this sleep experiment. An experiment that seems to have succeeded was washed away and never mentioned again, and the mystery of Subproject 54 fades away.